So now that I have a ridiculous amount of homemade Italian sausage, I want to show you one of the first dishes I ever learned how to make at the very first restaurant I ever worked at way back in my early culinary career. I think you're going to love it. But before we get into this sausage, mushrooms, peppers, and onions recipe, we need to knock out a little prep. Sound good? Let's cook. Do you believe it? I'm actually going to use a green bell pepper, although I love yellow, red, and orange way more because the flavors are definitely superior, that nice sweet bell pepper flavor. Okay, all we're looking to do here is julienne these up pretty thickly. So I like to just cut around the outside of the pith and the seeds, then cut off the bottom part. It's the easiest way I know how to julienne and prepare the peppers first.
Just continuing on with the red bell pepper, in case you missed it, just slice off all the sides of the bell pepper and slice off the bottom like this. Then again, we are going to thickly julienne it, but you do not have to be perfect here, okay? I like it thicker because it's going to cook a little bit longer and I don't want it to break down. Next, I have an extremely large red onion. Slice off the ends, rip off that peeling, and then what we're going to do is julienne it. Now, when I get about to the halfway point of the julienne, I roll the onion over to stabilize it so it doesn't rock. Continue to thinly slice, and you know what? This onion is massive. I'm going to use a half of that half, so a quarter of the red onion. And the other half, I'm just going to put it in the freezer for stock at some other point. Now, after a 2-year sabbatical of not chopping garlic, for some reason, I'm fine with it again. Going to finely mince up 3 garlic cloves. Once they are minced, just set them to the side in a bowl.
And then for the mushrooms, one of my favorite part about this recipe, and let me say that all mushrooms are good here. Buttons, I've got baby bellas, also known as creminis. You can do portobellos, you could do oysters, you could do shiitakes, although those aren't really Italian, you could still do them. What we're gonna do here, I have a little damp paper towel. We're just gonna wipe off any excess dirt or any particles that are on there that we don't necessarily want. And then all we do is slice them up. And what I like to do is hold it up like this, give it a quick slice, and then turn it so that it stays flat and it's not rocking back and forth when we continue to slice it. This is the easiest, safest way I know how to slice mushrooms.
Just continue slicing all of the cremini mushrooms until they are all sliced. Next, they're going in a medium-sized bowl. I know with all the different bowls, but I promise I've got a method to my madness. I'll show you in a second. Now for the Italian sausage. This recipe is actually for 8 Italian sausage links. I have 12 here. I wanted a few extra, sorry. Now you can use sweet or hot Italian sausage, and I've got a fantastic homemade recipe if you really want to take this to the next level. All I need to do is separate the links since they are all tied together. And if you're doing this at home, just be careful. You don't want to slice into the Italian sausage. Next, at this point, you know it, set it to the side on a separate plate.
All right, homies, obviously very minimal prep here. And while the sausage, peppers, and mushrooms are so good eaten by themselves, I'm going to hook you up with a little bonus because what we use to serve it over is a bed of creamy polenta. And I do have an awesome instructional step-by-step video that you can check out, but I'll give you a really quick recap here. We're just going to steal some of the garlic we chopped up and then small dice up a half yellow onion. Now, the cool thing about polenta is once it's done cooking is it will hold really, really well for probably 45 minutes, which will give us plenty of time to crank out our sausage, peppers, and mushrooms. All right, quick polenta. Here we go.
Going to add a medium-sized sauce pot to the cooktop, turning the heat to medium, adding in about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Let's add that half small diced yellow onion. We're just going to cook it for about 3 to 4 minutes until lightly browned like this. Then, like I said, I'm going to steal one of those finely minced garlic cloves, add it in there just until fragrant, which takes about 30 seconds. We know it's cooked. Now, at this point, I'm going to add in 6 cups of good chicken stock. You know, I've got a good homemade recipe. Let's turn the heat to high. What we want to do is bring this to a rolling boil, just like this. At this point, I'm going to add in 2 cups of yellow corn grits, also known as polenta. Now, I'm using a whisk as soon as I put it in there. Let's turn the heat down to about low medium. Whisk, whisk, whisk. Continue to whisk. Keep your hand on your hip. You know the position. We're doing this so that it doesn't clump together. But after a few minutes, it's going to get very, very thick and hard to whisk. So at this point, I usually switch over to a spoon. And this is going to take about 12 to 15 minutes for it to get to this nice, thick, cooked consistency. What we want to do is finish it off with a few things, starting with 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter. You could use 4 tablespoons of olive oil. Next, a half cup of grated Parmesan cheese. Of course, season it up with salt and fresh cracked black pepper. Mix all of these things together until it's completely combined and the butter is melted. And then just have a taste. Does it need more butter? Does it need more cheese, salt, pepper, you name it? If you've decided it's good, what we're going to do is just put a lid on it and set it to the side.
And like I said, the polenta will hold very well under that lid. It will still stay creamy, but now it's going to move very quickly. We're going to start off with that sausage. Here we go.
In a large rondeau pot, turning the heat up to medium-high, adding in 3 tablespoons of olive oil. Okay, once it begins to lightly smoke, it's time to start searing. So like I said, I'm going to cook off 12 Italian sausage links, even though this recipe calls for 8. And because that, make sure to not crowd the pan. You may have to cook it in batches if you're doing this. We want to sear them, not steam them. Okay, after maybe just 2 minutes, give them a flip. They are going to brown up very quickly, very nicely, just like this. Fantastic. And we want to cook them on all sides. So maybe only 6 minutes total to cook this sausage. Do not worry about cooking it all the way through. We will finish that off at the end. Once they are nice and brown, we are going to set them to the side right on a plate. Okay, I'm going back over to this pan. Immediately add in those sliced red onions. We want to cook these for only 1 to 2 minutes. That's all it's going to take on this really high heat to get them browned up like this. Next, let's grab those mushrooms. And then we are going to saute these for about 4 to 5 minutes. We want to get these browned up. Now, if you start to see that stuff is burning and sticking to the bottom of the pan, don't freak out. Just add a tablespoon or 2 of water. That will help release all that fond on the bottom and get incorporated, and all that flavor is going right into those mushrooms. Okay, we're nice and browned up at this stage. We are going to add in our yellow peppers and continue to saute these until they start to brown up.
And really the main reason we're doing this in stages is we want to make sure we brown each ingredient. We want to get the onions a little bit brown before we add the mushrooms, get those a little bit brown before we add the peppers. If we put it all together in that pan, it's going to steam. It's not going to sear.
After about another 4 minutes, again, total with these peppers cooking, you start to see a little brown on them. Perfect. Let's add in the remaining 2 finely minced garlic cloves. We're going to cook them just until fragrant, which takes about 30 seconds, which obviously means they are finished. Now at this point, let's turn the heat off completely or remove the pan from the burner because we're going to add in 2/3 cup of marsala wine. If you keep it on the burner, there's a chance it'll ignite and you'll have a huge fireball and you'll freak out. Okay, turn the heat back onto high. What we're going to do is cook this down until au sec, which is a French term meaning almost gone. So when the liquid's absorbed, just like this, fantastic. We are going to add in 4 cups of really good beef stock, okay? Got a great homemade recipe for you if you want to check that out. Bring it to a boil over high heat, okay? Let it sit for about 2 minutes. Let's season it up with salt and pepper. We're not looking for a thick gravy. We're just looking for a nice consistency here. Looks really, really good. At this point, add in the Italian sausage. All we're looking to do here is heat them back up and also make sure they are cooked throughout, which is going to take about 4 or 5 minutes.
And isn't there something just so elegant when a recipe has few ingredients and simple procedures? It's just good every time. And of course, those techniques, getting that sear on the sausage, doing the sear on the vegetables in stages, I'm telling you, the flavor is going to be there if you do that. When you practice this in all of your cooking, everything is going to taste better. That's what we're all about, elevating your everyday cooking. All right, let me show you how to plate this up.
Add a big old heaping scoop of that polenta right to the center of a plate or a bowl. Next, I'm going to add in 2 cooked Italian sausage links. Then I'm going to pour on the sauce with the peppers, mushrooms, and onions. Hopefully it doesn't fog up too bad on the lens. Dang it. All right, super foggy. Switching over to garnishing with freshly grated Parmesan cheese. And then for a little greenery and freshness, how about some chopped fresh parsley?
Yes, yes, yes. Nothing else to say. So good. Brings me right back to those memories at working at my first restaurant. You should make this tonight. And if you love this, oh my gosh, you have to check out my pasta carbonara. Incredibly simple as well. I've got a great recipe video. I'll see you on there.